Why does Moff Gideon want Baby Yoda so badly? Now folks, despite unfounded rumors over the long holiday weekend that the Kenobi series was in trouble, it's not, don't worry, it's clear that Star Wars is continuing to be a galactic tour de force, partially due to the success of the first ever live-action Star Wars show, The Mandalorian. And with the first season of The Mandalorian coming to a close in 2019, fans are eagerly awaiting the next entry in the series, especially with all the many mysteries teased out and all of the questions that we had at the season's epic conclusion. And one of the biggest question marks is, why does Moff Gideon want the child so badly? I'm sorry, his real name is the wee baby Yoda. I didn't mean to say the child. Here we are. Now before we go any further, let's pop on a quick spoiler warning here, just because we're going to be getting into things that could be considered spoilers for the first season of The Mandalorian, the season finale specifically, and definitely speculation territory for season 2. But if you are sticking around with us, please feel free to throw us a like and subscribe. It's what Baby Yoda would want.
I would like to see the baby.
Now, if you're still here, you're going to be glad to know that Giancarlo Esposito, the actor behind Moff Gideon, recently spoke to IGN about the character's motivations. And while he wasn't super specific about the details, if we add to what he said everything that we know already, it gives us some pretty clear pictures of what he wants with the wee baby Yodes. And it's not looking good for that adorable little child, that's for damn sure. So what did he say? Like any great leader or scientist, clue, with someone who's advanced in a certain way, yeah, you could want to be their best friend, or you could want to co-opt what's inside them to figure out how to make all of us a little better at humanity. Better at humanity? Whatever could that mean, my dearest Moff? Well, Giancarlo Esposito went on to say, so it's that power and control of a Moff leader who's trying to put the universe back together. But how does he know everything? How does he know everything that's going on? He's a very interesting character, and I'm so honored to be a part of this production. Now, admittedly, this quote is not the most detailed, but let's see what happens when we add the rest of our considerable knowledge to this. Now, first of all, due to some super sleuthing on the parts of fans early on in the Mando Season 1, Dr. Pershing, you remember that guy, the symbol for the Kamino and cloners on his uniform? Well, since Zacliant and Pershing are working for Moff Gideon, what does Gideon want with the baby and cloning scientists? Well, Zacliant tells Dr. Pershing to extract the material when the Mandalorian is eavesdropping on them. Now, it doesn't take a massive leap in logic to assume that he's referring to the midichlorians, or the microscopic organisms that help beings in the Star Wars galaxy communicate with the Force, that reside presumably within the wee baby Yoda's wee baby bloodstream. So if Moff Gideon is after some sweet midichlors from the wee baby Yoda, what will he do once he's got them? Is he going to give them to a lab? Is he just going to straight up drink them? Who knows? Now, if we go back to that quote, he stresses that he's a leader and a scientist. And he also says, let me remind you, with someone who's advanced in a certain way, yeah, you could want to be their best friend, or you could want to co-opt what's inside them to figure out how to make all of us a little better at humanity. Now, obviously, he wants to find a way to put Force sensitivity in certain people. And this has led some fans out there to think that the all of us a little better at humanity part of that quote means that Moff Gideon wants to level the playing field and distribute Force abilities to everyone. You know, the classic Syndrome from Incredibles sort of evil plan. But that doesn't really fit in with the whole Imperial aesthetic, because no matter how he views himself, Gideon isn't some sort of hero for humanity. He was more than willing to just straight up murder stormtroopers. And he was also willing to murk the wee baby Yoda to get what he wanted as well, since Dr. Pershing said that without him, the baby would already be dead. Looking at you, Jason Sudeikis. Now, it's much more likely that with the cloning connection, Gideon is trying to create an army of Force users to bring the Empire back to power. Now, this is something that we speculated about way back in The Mandalorian Episode 3, and this honestly feels like the confirmation we were looking for. It's also worth noting that some fans are speculating that Moff Gideon might be wanting the midichlorians to help resurrect Emperor Palpatine, who's currently regenerating in some capacity in the unknown regions on Exegol, probably in one of his weird nightmare goo pods. So maybe stealing midichlorians is part of this secret Sith darkside cloning science that Dominic Monaghan references in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. And side note, did you know that Monaghan's character was named Beaumont? Because neither did we. While this is a possibility, we think that Gideon isn't working for Palpatine directly. Now, according to canonical sources like the Aftermath novel trilogy and the Battlefront 2 video game, Palpatine took everyone he trusted to the unknown regions to work on building both his first and final orders, and he tried to destroy what was left of the Empire that he felt had failed him. So, if Moff Gideon wasn't a piece of Palpatine's inner circle, well, he's more likely an Imperial loyalist rather than a Palpatine loyalist or a Palpatine. Gideon strikes us more as an officer who bought the Imperial propaganda hook, line, and sinker. He's trying to enforce order throughout the galaxy by bringing the Empire itself back, not just that weird crusty old Palps. And the best way to do that is by infusing his troops with midichlorians or by growing new batches of Force-sensitive stormtroopers. And that isn't to say we couldn't see hints of the First Order or the Final Order in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, but we're pretty sure that Palpatine would view an Imperial Moff trying to create new Force-sensitive armies as a pretty major threat to his power. Now, this next bit certainly falls into the realm of super speculation, but it's also worth noting we might be getting more insight into Moff Gideon's background with the upcoming Season 7 of The Clone Wars, which drops on Disney Plus in February. So this season's going to deal with the siege of Mandalore during the Clone Wars, and considering that Moff Gideon was one of the orchestrators of the Mandalorian Purge during the reign of the Empire, it could have major implications. Add that into Star Wars producer Dave Filoni's heavy involvement in both series and his love of Mandalorian culture, and we wouldn't be surprised to see a young Gideon as an Old Republic officer before he became an Imperial agent. There, he could meet Anakin, Obi-Wan, or maybe even the old Baby Yoda himself. Just Yoda. And he could see the powers of the Force in action and midichlorians' potential before his very eyes. This could also be where a young Gideon hears about the fabled Darksaber, which we know he's in possession of by the end of Season 1 of The Mandalorian. And bringing live-action characters to the cartoons has happened plenty of times in the past. The easiest example is the main characters of The Clone Wars are all from the films, but also look how Star Wars Rebels saw the likes of Forrest Whitaker reprising his version of Saw Gerrera, a character who first originated in the Clone Wars series. So if Gideon shows up as well, it would be
a surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Yeah, what he said. We'll just have to wait and see, though, if any of this is true when both The Mandalorian Season 2 and The Clone Wars Season 7 return to Disney Plus later this year. But tell me, what do you folks think? Are we on the money for why Moff wants the Baby Yoda? And is there another reason that we missed? And also, will Gideon show up in The Clone Wars? Let's discuss. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, why not give us a like and subscribe while you're at it? And if you want to get notified every time we go live with a new show or drop a new video, please feel free to mash that little bell. That way you can stay up to date on all the latest news, theories, and rumors in the pop culture world.